Hello, everyone. This is Jonas Coersmeier. Welcome to our section of the Studio of Experiment this year. I'm really excited. We have an amazing project ahead of us. If you're not familiar with me or my work, I've been teaching at Pratt for a number of years, all kinds of studios, including Studio of Experiment last year, Urban Design Studios, MS Architecture, and various other design studios and also research seminars. One of them I'm running this spring, Nanotectonica. If you don't know my work, I can suggest you, perhaps let me share the screen. You can just go to the Pratt website under faculty bios and you see a couple of links towards projects that we've done here at Pratt, including this one here, which discusses material urbanism. And there are a couple of other ones that are related also to what we're doing this semester. You can also go to a Flickr page called Pixel Probe, and you see plenty of work that has been coming out of a studio in recent years. If you want to get an overview of what kind of media, perhaps aesthetics, but also general topics we're dealing with in the studios. You can also simply go to Instagram and punch in my last name. You find a lot of stuff. Or if you want to be a bit more specific and see what we did in this very Studio of Experiment last year, you can just put the hashtag FairXStudio and you see a bunch of really cool models that we've done. They're all robotic and material hybrids, meaning that they're informed by algorithmic work as well as direct expressions of materials. There's just so much stuff to cover in 5 minutes that I can't really tell you too much about previous work, but looking forward to what we're planned this spring. And it is truly a studio of experiment in many ways. It is an experiment in that it is a big travel studio. We were so lucky to get rewarded some funding here from the graduate school. I put in an application for travel studio funding as well as material funding, and those were well received. So if you're joining the studio, it will be supported in these ways. Also, and that's very important to me, for full equity, if you cannot afford to pay the difference between what's funded and what a trip like this costs, you are still just as welcome to our studio as if you were, and we'll figure out the administrative things later. Of those, you will find a lot in the, maybe I should switch this to a different view. Of those, you find a lot in the syllabus. If I quickly go to that, to just point you to the syllabus because it holds a ton of information in terms of scheduling, financing, and all that stuff. So here you see just the index of the content of the syllabus, and you see that it discusses the studio project as well as the disciplinary foundation of the project, which is the same that we started last year. And it has to do with a new kind of fair structures that are considering both straightforward structural consideration, but much more broadly speaking, ideas of structures with a new understanding of what is nature, if there is such a thing, and how do we redefine natural structures on the basis of giants like Fry Otto, for instance, based on some really important figures that help us craft a new idea of natural structures. It tells us about the particular studio, the BIENNALE studio that we're running, including some media aspects, and then it gives you the specific outlines of the 2023 BIENNALE, and it tells you a little bit about our travel plans and gives you a lot of references, not only of previous student work, but also images that as they relate to what we're planning for this year. So let me talk about our team, which is really amazing. For this, I have a slide here. So we will be supported by Ezio Blasetti. Ezio, here we see him in the middle behind the robot arm, characteristically. He's a very good friend and collaborator of many years. He teaches with me both at Penn as well as here at Pratt, and he has been teaching at Yale and the Bartlett and the AA and stuff like that. He really is a maestro of the computation and algorithmic design, and he will be helping you guys to get up to speed if you aren't already with some of those tools, and then fine-tune them towards your particular interests in the studio. We've been also playing around quite a bit with the AI engines. We actually just published a paper on this, and we're going to test the very latest tools of Midjourney and all kinds of other AI engines that are just sort of mind-blowingly expanding and accelerating in what they can do. Ezio and I were just geeking out about it and drawing parallels to the development of the early computational tools at the turn of the millennium that he and I encountered as students, and the rapid pace that was breathtaking for us then compared to what's going on right now, kind of like architecture algorithm on steroids. It's really exciting, and of course it is dangerous, and therefore we are training future leaders to make sure that we are creating a symbiotic relationship not only with the robots but the AI engines for a better future. We have Kanzang Danny Kim, or Danny as I call him, also a close collaborator and friend. He's not officially on the faculty of Pratt, but he is a friend of my studio, of our studio, and also a graduate of Pratt. Then he runs a biomedical company in Seoul, and he will be our man on the site, our local contact. He will give you lectures about the city and the culture, and he will also give you guided tours if you are going with us to Korea. And then finally, we have Juan Lago Novas, who is a dear colleague here who runs a different section of the Studio of Experiments. And so he will be ours, and I will be their, quote, secondary internal advisor. The studio discusses changing concepts of nature as they pertain to ecological thinking and building, and it addresses the architectural mandate in the midst of a global climate crisis. And it does so in the context of the 4th SEOUL Biennale of Architecture and Urbanism, to be held in 2023. The studio deploys material and computational models to propose a new kind of bridge across the Han River. We envision an integrative space that embodies our collective desire to change our ways towards an ecologically more just future. There was a large flood in Korea last year, in South Korea, Seoul, especially in the Gangnam district, surrounding areas. It was preceded by the highest rainfall in 80 years. 2,800 buildings were damaged and people became homeless. The studio explores the interlaced relationships of environmental, social, political, and structural inequities and equities. The many bridges across the Han River represent a socio-economic stitching of North and South, the old city and the new commercial city, while their separation by the river mirrors the division of the country at large, the North and the South. So representing the graduate school at the Korean Biennale this year, you will be designing in teams of two a new kind of a bridge across the Han River, and I'll show you more about the specific location. The Biennale had 3 bridges or locations for bridges to choose from, and I have decided for a really super interesting, both landscape and urbanistically speaking, very, very interesting site just in the center of the river, in the center of the part of the city. Finish by saying our team actually also is completed by Mark Rakatansky. Mark Rakatansky is a professor of architecture in the undergraduate school, and I'm sure you're familiar with him. And he actually brought the Biennale to Pratt, and he will be representing undergraduate architecture. So there's another studio in the building that covers the same topic, and we'll be sharing pin-ups. So there's another collaboration going on. So I'm really looking forward to this. It's going to be an exciting studio, and see you guys Friday. Bye.